guys, it's me, Shaw360, and I'm going to try to do the review for episode 5 and 6 in a clear, consistent way, but chances are I won't because I'm not a professional and I don't have any notes. I basically have like 2 names written down on a piece of paper because I decided to do something different with watching these 2 episodes. Instead of watching them and doing my notes like I normally do, I watched both episodes just like straight through and then used my feelings kind of to do this review. And that leads to a lot less precise review, but I also think it leads to a lot more genuine review because that's kind of how you guys are watching the show. I doubt that you guys are watching it the way I normally watch shows. I normally watch shows and I play it, pause it, write my note, press play again. And usually it takes me about an hour and a half to finish an episode because I'm writing so many notes. But this time, no notes, just a couple of names written down, that is it. But I think I've got it down because with me being able to watch the episode kind of the way you guys watch it, I was able to catch the flow of the episode, and I think it worked out well. So let's get started. So at the beginning of episode 5, we've got this big kiss between Big Boss and Dr. Kong. And Big Boss likes it, Dr. Kong seems to like it, so he leans in for a second one. But Dr. Kong says no, because she's confused. So the next day, things are kind of awkward between the two, and they have to go into town because the little boy with lead poisoning had run away from the hospital. They go into town, and while they're in town, they talk about things. And when they talk about things, she's like, I'm kind of confused because, if you were just any ordinary guy, I probably wouldn't be interested. But, you are special. However, the life you live, it's dangerous. And I want to know more about you, but you can't tell me about you. So, they're talking it over at this table or whatever. They get ready to leave the restaurant, and that's when Big Boss sees the guy from the UN truck. What the hell was the guy from the UN truck doing here? So he sends Dr. Kong off to go to the hardware store, which is where the Korean-Russian nurse was at. Her name is Yewa. So that's what I wrote down. Her name and the name of her boyfriend. Her name is Yewa. So she goes to Yewa, and Daniel, who is her husband, hangs out with them while Big Boss confronts the UN truck guy. Turns out that the police didn't arrest him, which that's red flag number 1. And then Big Boss shoots out a tire since the guy's like, well, why are you harassing me when I'm an unarmed citizen? He shoots out the tire. All of a sudden, the guy pulls out a gun. He's like, yeah, so you're not really unarmed. Turns out that one of Big Boss's former army buddies is this guy's superior. Like, he's the head of the gangster group or whatever. And Big Boss is shocked because they show this flashback of them being in war together, held hostage, when all he was given was like his name, rank, and his serial number. Like, it was like one of those I'm gonna kill you situations. And he was the one who actually demanded that this guy be rescued from this hostage situation. And now the guy is a fucking death peddler. He's selling illegal guns to probably terrorists or rebel forces or whatever else. And it's just, it fucks with Big Boss. It does. And I imagine that would fuck with me too. Here I am, I'm a soldier, and I believe in like the inherent goodness of other soldiers. I'm here for you. I would never let a soldier see harm or, not do my all to save a fellow soldier. And then you go from being a person who's supposed to be on the side of good to being a person who is definitely on the side of evil. We've already seen this guy kill 2 people in the episode so far. Like, it's not like he's not dangerous. He is a dangerous, bad man. His name is August, by the way, too. So we might be referring to him by that name later on. But yeah, like, Big Boss, he's really torn about this. So Dr. Kong gets a vehicle from Daniel and decides to go back to the base without Big Boss, because Big Boss told her to also. And while she's in the car, she's thinking about Big Boss and about their kind of love life situation and about, his dangerousness and everything else. She almost runs into a truck, drives to swerves to avoid the truck, and somehow or another runs off the road and is about to fall off a cliff. So she calls Big Boss and like, I need you to help me. I am about to fall off a cliff. She's freaking out. She's leaving a message for her mom, like, Mama, I want you to get the deposit back from the office. I was going to rip when I came back home. So anyway, Big Boss manages to get to the scene before the Jeep has fallen off the cliff. And this is where I was kind of like, that's not the way I think this should have happened. Instead of like opening the back hatch and telling her to like lean back and then him slowly pull her out or have her like hold on to a rope or a cable so he could pull her out, and then maybe the car could fall without her being injured. Instead, he crawls in and makes them fall into the water, and then he pulls her out and they swim to safety. Now, I don't know about you. Maybe it's just me, but I think that this rescue could have been done way more effectively by just grabbing the rope and pulling her out instead of doing all this dramatic shit. But that's just me. And Dr. Kong, she wasn't cool about it either. She's kind of like, you scared me half to death. I can't believe you did this. I'm not stable. But they end up being able to, survive the fall off the cliff. And they get back to base, and they're sharing kind of a nice moment by the fire. And you could tell, like, there's still that connection there. There's still something. And they have a little bit of a chat, and she tells him about, how she understands, like, when she teased him about Saving Private Ryan, he really is that guy. He's that dude. And she's realizing that more and more now. And then she asked him, like, have you ever regretted being in this line of work? He's like, well, tonight for the first time I did, because he's thinking about the whole August situation. But yeah, things are going pretty decent between them, but they're still not really close. And so she's really taken aback when she finds out that he's leaving. Why is he leaving? Because Big Boss is a career military guy, and he's actually going home to go to his father's retirement party because his father was in the military, so he's like a legacy military guy. But also, the commanders want to send him home because with him being a career military guy and being brilliant at what he does, they want to send him home so that he can kind of make some connections, build a little bit of a reputation, and get on the track to be promoted. They want him to be the next 3-star general. And I mean, I don't blame him, because he's great at what he does. He's fantastic at what he does, but he's not the kind of soldier who could sit behind a desk. That's just not who he is. He's not, a smoozing type of soldier. He's an action guy. That's who he is. Now, he's very level-headed and very logical, and he's not brash about his actions, but at the same time, I don't think that he could be happy being an administrative soldier. But he doesn't tell her about him going home. And on the last night, I guess, that they have a chance to talk to each other about the situation, he tells her, about this kiss. I need to know, should I confess or should I apologize? Because he's like, I get that we have something between us, but I can't keep staying in limbo. I need to know, are we going to pursue this, or are we going to call it quits? And she just lets him know, like, I'm too confused. So go ahead and apologize, because I just don't know. I can't make that call right now. And she gets kind of mad because she wanted him to actually chase after her, which I thought was cute, Still a little cuteness. Even though these are grown people, still a little bit cuteness. But he goes back to Korea. And when he goes back to Korea, he goes to look up Wolf. Well, Wolf is kind of in the middle of his own crisis of sorts, because Wolf and Lieutenant Yoon, their situation, there's still some stuff there. Lieutenant Yoon's father asked Wolf, do you think it was unfair of me to send you back to Korea when my daughter was going to Irk? If you think it's unfair, you could bring up charges against me if you want to. And of course, Wolf is like, I'm not going to bring charges against you, because, you were just acting like a father, and I can't compete with that. And also because, Wolf, despite his kind of self-assuredness and sternness, he's actually a pretty vulnerable soul. And I think that's one of the things I love about him and Lieutenant Yoon. They kind of had to grow on me, but they've really grown on me in these last couple of episodes. Wolf, he's a stern guy. The recruits at his drill station hate him. He's the sergeant from hell. Nobody likes him. But at the same time, he's one of those kind of guys that, as stern as he is, any soldier he works for, he's willing to die for him. And the bromance between him and Big Boss, like, is one of the best features of this show, because it's real. It's real and it's genuine, It's the way that soldiers are when they depend on each other to save each other's lives. They're closer than brothers because they're with each other all the time. They're in these high-stakes situations. There's times when they have to be able to communicate with each other without talking, without being able to look at each other. They just have to know how to be there for each other. And a guy like that, who's capable of being that intuitive, but at the same time seems that closed off and reserved to the outside, there's a deepness to him. And that's one of the things that I like about his relationship with Lieutenant Yoon, is that she gets his deepness. You know, there's the scene after they run away from the angry recruits, him and Big Boss, and Big Boss heads in one direction, Wolf heads in the other, and Wolf answers the phone for Lieutenant Yoon, and he doesn't say a word. Like, he doesn't even breathe heavy. He says nothing. But she knows he's there, and almost like she can read his mind, she starts talking to him, and you can see it on his face, that like everything she's saying, she's getting it. She's totally getting it. But, you know, he can't say anything because he's a loyal soldier, and he knows his commanding officer doesn't want him to be involved with this girl. And then also, he loves her. You know, without it being spoken, he loves her. And he can't tell her anything because he doesn't want to screw up her life. Yeah, he wants to be with her, and he wants her to know that he cares. But at the same time, you know, she's a doctor. She's also a higher rank than he is, and her dad is a general, and she's beautiful, and she's all these things that he probably never thought he would have because he's a former street punk. But at the same time, you know, he just can't really let go. He can't let go, but he can't pursue it because he doesn't have the confidence in himself to feel like he deserves to be able to pursue that. And it's almost like Wolf has the opposite problem that Big Boss has. Big Boss wants Dr. Kong to take a chance on him. Wolf wants Lieutenant Yoon to stop taking chances on him. Because Wolf is probably thinking to himself, I'm this guy who does this really dangerous job. I'm constantly being put in the line of fire. I'm not good enough for you. You need somebody who can be there for you all the time, who's got a lot of money, who can give you a great life and treat you like the princess that you are. And Lieutenant Yoon saying like, no, I'm fine with who you are. You're what I want. I don't want this imaginary guy you think I could get. I want you. And with Big Boss and Dr. Kong, it's really Dr. Kong who is back in a way like, you're a dangerous thing. I mean, you're beautiful, but you're dangerous, and I need to pull away from it. And Big Boss is telling her, no, grab a hold. Yes, I know I'm dangerous, but I can really love you, and we can really have something special. Please just give me a chance. So I like that kind of polar opposite dynamic thing they have going. So back to the story. So Big Boss leaves, and the rest of the Hanseng group that Dr. Kong came with, they go to this power plant, which is the reason why they were there in the first place. Haesung group got a contract to build a power plant out there in Urk, and they had opened this hospital that they were equipping for the UN as kind of a gift for being able to get this big military project in this power plant. And they encounter Chief Jin. I had to write that down because I could not remember the guy's name, but he's this like really flamboyant, kind of over the top, like I'm the big boss around here and I don't do menial labor. I just wear designer suits and call the shots. And of course, everybody's kind of like, ugh, greasy. So they avoid him like the plague. But Chief Jin ought to be called Thief Jin because he is doing some shady shit. Somehow or another, he ends up in the same room with Argus, who is the weapons dealer. Turns out that he is like a diamond smuggler and is smuggling diamonds in there every week. I would imagine that the money for the diamonds must be coming from him cutting corners when it comes to building materials and the like, because shortly after we see a couple of these illicit transactions, there's an earthquake in Urk, and the earthquake causes the power plant to collapse. And it's a huge earthquake, and Big Boss is in Korea when he sees this earthquake happen. So is Wolf. They both see this, and they both know the women that they love are in this place that is experiencing many, many casualties behind this earthquake. Luckily, none of our main characters are hurt at all. However, I mean, this is an emergency situation, and both sets of our main characters need to be involved with this. The military guys need to be involved because search and rescue is their thing. The doctors need to be involved because people who have been rescued need to be triaged and cared for. So, I mean, it was a chance for all of their skills to kind of be put to the test, and also it brings back the action to the series that I know a lot of people were missing. But I thought it was interesting some of the interactions that our couples had on the battlefield. Like, they didn't have these big weepy, you know, big kiss, big hug, violins, singing type of reunions. It was very kind of matter of fact, but they communicated with each other in a very basic way. I came here well, at least the guys were like, I came back to Irk to make sure you were safe and to do my job. And I just want you to know, I'm glad you're safe. Stay that way. And then the girls at the same time like, you too, buddy. Don't get killed out there. So I really, really liked all that. I loved that a lot. Now, one thing I was very disappointed about, and I know that they use it as kind of like a vehicle to show gratitude, but I was like, this is stupid. When Dr. Kong shows up to the power plant, all the medical team know that they are there to render treatment to these people. And they have like safety vests and equipment and like they're ready to go. But she didn't think ahead of time that maybe I should change my shoes because I'm going into a crisis zone and I probably shouldn't be doing it in heels. I mean, I get it. They were like showing how like when it comes to an emergency, she'll sacrifice fashion for being able to do her job. And then the guy's so grateful that she heals him that he takes off his work boots and gives them to her to wear. I get that, but at the same time, it just struck me as dumb. You didn't have to do all that. You could have saved that time for something else. Like that was probably the only, one of two things that bothered me. One of three things. So I talked about the Jeep falling off the cliff. One of three things that bothered me with this couple of episodes. The other thing that bothered me, which is the third thing, was Onu's scene crying over the guy that coded out. The reason that scene bothered me is not because I don't think Onu's a bad actor. I think Onu is a good actor. I mean, I really do. I think that he has done a great job so far. I mean, he's basically playing Onu. So, you know, I can't be mad at him playing himself, which is why I get so angry with Minho in dramas because nobody lets Minho play himself. He did play himself in Because of the First Time, which ironically enough, one of the guys from Because It's the First Time, which Minho was in, he's in this drama as an employee of the power plant. So, cross promotion there. But the thing is, with the big cry scene with Onu, I felt like there wasn't enough transition between Onu's emotions. Like, after he gets slapped and told to kind of snap out of it, then all of a sudden he's like, and I was like, I didn't get that. And then also, like, Dr. Kong was calling the time of death before Onu got slapped. And then her and the other doctor were begging Onu to call the time of death. And like, but girl, you were already starting to do that. Why can't you just do that and help him move on? So, I mean, that, I know they were going for big emotions. And a lot of people were impressed with that scene. I wasn't as impressed because I just felt like the timing of everything was wrong. Like, it wasn't set up right. Or maybe, like, they started to go one angle with it, and then they kind of turned around and went another way with it. And, like, Dr. Kong was kind of cold at first when she told Onu to move on, and then she got real tender towards the end, and I don't know, that kind of struck me as wrong. But anyway, that's everything for episodes 5 and 6 that I could think of. I'm sure I skipped over something because I didn't take any notes. Like, I literally didn't take any notes. But I think I did okay. Let me know what you think, and thank you for watching this review. I will get back with you guys on my next review. Take care. Bye.